Captain Sarah Chun stood on the observation deck of the UES Poseidon, watching the blue marble of Kepler 438b rotate slowly beneath them. The planet's surface was 93% ocean, with scattered island chains dotting the vast aquamarine expanse like emeralds on silk. It was beautiful, pristine, and, according to every alien species in the Galactic Council, absolutely terrifying. "Still can't believe they're just giving it to us," muttered Dr. James Rodriguez, the mission's chief oceanographer, as he joined her at the viewport. His excitement was barely contained, like a child who'd just been handed the keys to the world's largest swimming pool. Sarah smiled. 3 months ago, humanity had finally been invited to join the Galactic Council after proving they weren't completely barbaric. The invitation had come with a gift, an entire star system, including this water world that no other species wanted. The Council representatives had seemed almost relieved to hand over the coordinates. "Ambassador Zektar made it sound like they were doing us a favor," Sarah replied. "Called it a suitable habitat for your aquatic inclinations." The truth was, most alien species found water worlds deeply unsettling. The Zephyrians, with their silicon-based biology, couldn't survive in high humidity. The crystalline Velnari found the constant motion of oceans disorienting. Even the amphibious Krogan, who could technically survive underwater, preferred their shallow swamps to deep oceans. But humans? Humans had evolved on a planet that was 71% water. They'd spent millennia learning to sail, dive, swim, and explore every corner of their blue world. To them, this wasn't a consolation prize, it was paradise. "Initial scans are complete, Captain," came the voice of Lieutenant Commander Alex Nakamura from the bridge. "The planet's even better than we thought. The ocean depth averages 12 kilometers, with some trenches reaching 25. The water's clean, the ecosystem is thriving, and there are mineral deposits on the seafloor that could power our colonies for centuries." Sarah activated her comm unit. "Excellent work, Alex. Begin deployment of the deep-sea scanning probes. I want a complete topographical map of the ocean floor before we land." As the Poseidon began its orbital survey, Sarah reflected on how they'd gotten here. Humanity's introduction to galactic society had been rocky. Most species viewed them as aggressive primitives who solved problems with violence. The fact that humans came from a death world, a planet with extreme weather, dangerous fauna, and unstable tectonics, only reinforced this perception. But there was another side to humanity that the aliens hadn't expected. While other species had developed advanced technology to overcome their environmental challenges, humans had adapted themselves. They'd learned to work with their dangerous planet instead of against it. They'd become explorers, survivors, and, most importantly, they'd become swimmers. "Captain, we're getting some interesting readings from the deep ocean," Dr. Rodriguez called out, his eyes glued to the scanner displays. "There are artificial structures down there. Ancient ones." Sarah's eyebrows rose. "How ancient?" "Preliminary dating suggests at least 50,000 years. Maybe more. They're massive, bigger than anything we've built on Earth. And they're not on the surface. They're suspended in the water column, some at depths of 15 kilometers. This was unexpected. The Galactic Council had assured them the planet was uninhabited, that no sapient species had ever claimed it. If there were artificial structures, where were their builders? "Any signs of current activity?" Sarah asked. "None detected. Whatever built these structures, they've been gone for a very long time." Sarah made a decision. "Prep the deep-sea habitat pods. We're going down for a closer look." "Captain," Lieutenant Commander Nakamura's voice carried a note of concern. "Regulations require us to report any signs of previous habitation to the Galactic Council before proceeding." "I'm aware of the regulations, Alex. But, according to our charter, we have the right to conduct preliminary surveys of our assigned territory. That's all we're doing." 2 hours later, Sarah found herself sealed inside a state-of-the-art submersible, descending through the planet's pristine waters alongside Dr. Rodriguez and Marine Sergeant Lisa Park. The submersible, christened Deep Explorer, was one of humanity's most advanced underwater vessels, a far cry from the crude diving bells their ancestors had used to explore Earth's oceans. As they descended, the sunlight faded from brilliant blue to deep indigo to black. Bioluminescent creatures drifted past their viewports like living stars, their bodies pulsing with ethereal light. Schools of fish moved in perfect synchronization, creating living murals in the water. Depth, 8 kilometers, and descending, Dr. Rodriguez announced. Water pressure is now equivalent to 800 Earth atmospheres, but the hull's holding perfectly. Sarah marveled at how routine this felt. To humans, diving to crushing depths was just another day at the office. They'd been exploring their own ocean trenches for centuries, pushing the boundaries of how deep they could go, how long they could stay down, and how much pressure their technology could withstand. There, Sergeant Park pointed through the viewport. 12 o'clock, about 2 kilometers out. The structure that emerged from the darkness was breathtaking. It looked like a massive city suspended in the water, its spires and platforms connected by graceful arches that seemed to defy physics. Bioluminescent growths covered its surfaces, giving it an otherworldly glow. It was clearly artificial, but it had been designed to work with the ocean rather than against it. "It's beautiful," Dr. Rodriguez whispered. "The architecture is completely adapted to the aquatic environment. Look at those flowing lines, the way the current moves through the structure without resistance." As they moved closer, more details became apparent. The buildings were covered in what looked like artificial gills, structures that might have filtered water for breathing organisms. There were what appeared to be transit tubes connecting different sections, designed to allow rapid movement through water. Everything about the city spoke of a species that had mastered underwater living. "Captain, I'm detecting power signatures," Dr. Rodriguez said, his voice tight with excitement. "Minimal, but definitely there. Some systems are still active after all this time." Sarah felt a chill of anticipation. "Any signs of life?" "Negative. Whatever's running seems to be automated systems. Environmental controls, maybe some kind of maintenance protocol." They spent the next 3 hours exploring the outer areas of the underwater city. The architecture was unlike anything in known galactic databases. Where most species built up or out, these beings had built in 3 dimensions, creating structures that spiraled and flowed through the water like living coral reefs. "Captain," Sergeant Park's voice was troubled. "I've been thinking about the timeline. If this city is 50,000 years old, that means it was here before any of the current Galactic Council species achieved interstellar travel." Sarah nodded grimly. "Which means either the Council doesn't know about this, or they do know and didn't tell us." "There's another possibility," Dr. Rodriguez said quietly. "Maybe this is why they gave us the planet so readily. Maybe they knew what was down here, and were afraid to explore it themselves." The implications were staggering. If there was a species advanced enough to build underwater cities 50,000 years ago, what had happened to them? And why would the Council be afraid of ruins? "We need samples," Sarah decided. "And we need to get into that city." "Captain, I should point out that most Council species would consider what we're about to do impossible," Dr. Rodriguez said. "The pressure down here would crush any of their vessels instantly. The Zephyrian ships would implode at 50 meters depth. Even the Krogan's strongest hulls couldn't handle 1,000 meters." Sarah smiled grimly. "Then, it's lucky they sent humans." Finding an entrance proved surprisingly easy. The city's builders had designed multiple access points, clearly expecting regular traffic from the open ocean. The Deep Explorer slipped through what appeared to be a cargo bay, its sensors automatically adjusting to the changed environment. Inside, they found something miraculous. The city wasn't flooded. It was designed to be flooded. Corridors were filled with water, but they were also filled with breathable atmosphere in carefully maintained bubbles. Whoever had built this place had created a true amphibious environment. "Life support is active," Dr. Rodriguez reported in amazement. "The entire city is maintaining perfect environmental balance. Water quality, oxygen levels, pressure differentials. Everything is exactly where it should be for aquatic life forms." They docked the submersible at what appeared to be a maintenance bay and prepared to explore on foot. Well, on Finn, Sarah and her team donned their underwater gear and stepped out into the city. Swimming through the corridors felt like flying through an alien dreamscape. The architecture flowed around them in organic curves, with bioluminescent panels providing gentle lighting. Schools of native fish swam alongside them, apparently considering the humans just another part of the environment. "Look at this," Sergeant Park called out, pointing to a wall covered in symbols. "It's some kind of writing system, but it's 3-dimensional. The symbols have depth and texture. Dr. Rodriguez swam over to examine the wall. It's not just writing, it's tactile. A species that communicated through touch as well as sight. And look at the scale. These symbols are sized for beings much larger than humans. They continued deeper into the city, their lights revealing wonders at every turn. There were vast chambers that might have been meeting halls, with acoustic properties designed to carry sound through water. There were what appeared to be laboratories, their equipment still humming with quiet power. And everywhere, there were signs of a civilization that had mastered the art of living in perfect harmony with the ocean. "Captain, you need to see this." Dr. Rodriguez's voice was tight with awe. He was floating in front of what appeared to be a massive viewing screen, its surface shimmering with alien text and diagrams. As Sarah approached, the screen seemed to sense her presence and shifted to display what looked like a star map. But not just any star map. This one showed the current positions of Galactic Council worlds with remarkable accuracy. "It's updating in real time," Dr. Rodriguez whispered. "This system is somehow tracking galactic civilization." Sarah felt a chill that had nothing to do with the water temperature. How is that possible? And why would an extinct species need to monitor galactic civilization? Before anyone could answer, the screen changed again. New symbols appeared, and somehow, Sarah could understand them. Not the language itself, but the meaning behind it. The city's computer systems were attempting to communicate. Surface dwellers detected. Species unknown. Origin water world. Conclusion possible inheritors. Inheritors. Sergeant Park read the translation that appeared on their helmet displays. Inheritors of what? The screen shifted again, showing what appeared to be historical records. Images of a graceful, aquatic species moving through underwater cities like this one. They were large, easily 3 meters tall, with powerful limbs adapted for swimming and manipulation. But what struck Sarah most was how naturally they moved through the water, like humans, but even more so. The records showed these beings spreading across multiple water worlds, building vast underwater civilizations, mastering technologies that worked in harmony with aquatic environments. They had been the galaxy's first true spacefaring species, their ships designed to carry ocean environments with them wherever they went. And then, according to the records, they had simply vanished. When Sarah asked the computer system, somehow knowing it would understand. Great departure, 45,847 cycles ago. Reason, unknown. Status, voluntary exodus. Dr. Rodriguez was studying the data streams flowing across the screen. "Captain, this is incredible. They didn't die out, they left. All of them, from every world they'd colonized. But they left their cities behind, still functioning, still maintained. But why?" Sarah wondered aloud. The screen flickered, and new symbols appeared. Watching. Waiting. Testing. Testing what? Sergeant Park asked. Inheritors. Species with potential to continue the harmony. Sarah felt pieces clicking together in her mind. The Galactic Council. They know about this, don't they? That's why they were so eager to give us water worlds. They're afraid of these ruins, but they can't access them themselves. The computer system seemed to confirm her suspicions. More records flowed across the screen, showing various alien species attempting to explore underwater ruins on different worlds. The Zephyrians' vessels crushed by pressure. The Velnari's exploration teams paralyzed by the alien environment. Even the amphibious Krogan, turning back when faced with the true depths. Only one species in the galaxy had the natural ability and technological development to explore these underwater cities, humans. "Captain," Dr. Rodriguez's voice was filled with wonder. "I think we've stumbled into something much bigger than an abandoned city. I think this is a test." The previous inhabitants left these cities operational, waiting for a species that could truly master the aquatic environment. Sarah floated in the alien corridor, surrounded by the gentle hum of systems that had waited 50,000 years for someone like her to find them. The implications were staggering. Humanity hadn't just been given a water world, they'd been led to it, guided by alien powers to fulfill some ancient purpose. "Set up a permanent monitoring station," she ordered. "Full scientific team, round-the-clock shifts. I want to know everything about this place and its builders." What about the Galactic Council? Sergeant Park asked. Sarah looked at the alien symbols flowing across the screen, at the vast city stretching away into the blue darkness, at the legacy of a species that had mastered the art of living in harmony with the ocean. We'll tell them what they need to know, she said finally. But this is our world now, and these are our waters to explore. As they made their way back to the submersible, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The builders of this city had left it for a reason, had waited 50,000 years for the right species to find it. And now that humanity had taken their first steps into this underwater realm, there would be no turning back. The ocean called to them, vast and mysterious and full of secrets waiting to be discovered. And for the first time since joining the Galactic Council, Sarah felt that humanity had found their true place in the galaxy, not as aggressive primitives or dangerous deathworlders, but as the inheritors of something far greater than they had ever imagined. The water world was theirs now, and they would dive deeper than any species had ever dared to go. 6 months after the discovery of the underwater city, the UES Poseidon had been joined by a small fleet of human vessels orbiting Kepler for 38b. The planet's surface now hosted 3 floating research stations, each one serving as a gateway to the vast underwater realm below. What had started as a simple colonial survey had evolved into humanity's most ambitious exploration project. Dr. Elena Vasquez stepped off the transport shuttle onto Platform Alpha, the largest of the research stations. As the newly appointed director of aquatic archaeology, she carried the weight of coordinating humanity's first contact with truly alien technology. The salty breeze carried the sound of waves and the distant hum of submersible engines returning from deep-sea missions. "Welcome to Paradise Station, Director," called out Dr. Rodriguez, who had been promoted to Field Operations Coordinator. His sun-darkened skin and easy smile spoke of months spent working in and around the planet's oceans. "Ready for the grand tour?" Elena nodded, though her attention was already drawn to the massive holographic displays showing real-time feeds from dozens of underwater expeditions. Teams of human researchers were exploring sites across the planet, each one revealing new wonders left behind by the mysterious aquatic species they had begun calling the architects. "How many sites have we cataloged so far?" Elena asked as they walked through the bustling research center. 47 cities, 12 major industrial complexes, and over 300 smaller installations, Dr. Rodriguez replied. "And that's just in the areas we've managed to explore. The ocean coverage means there could be thousands more sites waiting to be discovered." Elena studied the holographic map showing the locations of known architect sites. They weren't randomly distributed. There was a clear pattern, with major cities positioned at optimal points for ocean current utilization and resource extraction. The architects hadn't just lived in the ocean. They had understood it in ways that put even humanity's best oceanographers to shame. "Any progress on translation?" she asked. "That's where things get interesting." Dr. Rodriguez led her to a specialized laboratory where Dr. Sarah Kim, the project's lead linguist, was working with a team of both human and AI researchers. Dr. Kim looked up from a complex, three-dimensional display showing architect symbols floating in virtual space. "Director Vasquez, perfect timing. We've made a breakthrough." The symbols on the display were unlike anything in known galactic languages. They existed in 3 dimensions, with depth, texture, and even chemical markers that conveyed meaning. In that time, they had colonized over 600 water worlds across the galaxy. 600. Elena felt a chill of awe. What happened to all those colonies? According to the records we've translated so far, they all left at the same time. Every architect settlement, on every world, abandoned simultaneously. They left everything behind: cities, technology, knowledge banks. But they took their people. Dr. Rodriguez pulled up another display showing the star map they had discovered in the first city. "This is what's really strange. The map doesn't just show current galactic civilization. It shows projected development patterns. The architects weren't just monitoring the galaxy when they left. They were predicting where new species would emerge and how they would develop." Elena studied the map with growing amazement. Humanity's expansion routes were clearly marked, with Earth itself highlighted in a distinctive color. But more than that, The map showed dozens of other water worlds, all marked with the same color as Earth. They knew, she whispered. They knew humanity would eventually spread to water worlds. It gets better, Dr. Kim said, pulling up a new set of translated documents. We've found what appear to be instruction manuals, not for their technology specifically, but for understanding how to live in harmony with aquatic environments. It's like they left a guidebook for whoever would come after them. Elena spent the next several hours reviewing the translated materials, and, with each page, her sense of wonder grew. The architects hadn't just been advanced, they had been wise. Their technology worked with natural systems rather than against them. Their cities enhanced ocean ecosystems rather than disrupting them. They had achieved something that no current galactic species had even attempted: true environmental harmony. Director, came a voice from the communications center. We're receiving a transmission from Galactic Council Space. It's Ambassador Zektar, and he's requesting an immediate conference. Elena exchanged glances with Dr. Rodriguez. They had been reporting their findings to the council as required, but their reports had been carefully edited. The full scope of what they were discovering was being kept classified until humanity could better understand the implications. The holographic display shimmered to life, revealing the familiar form of Ambassador Zektar, the Velnari representative who had originally negotiated humanity's membership in the Galactic Council. His crystalline features seemed more agitated than usual, their usual calm luminescence flickering with rapid color changes. Director Vasquez, Zektar began without preamble. The Council has received concerning reports about your activities on the water world. We understand you have discovered artificial structures. Elena chose her words carefully. We have found evidence of previous habitation, yes. Ancient ruins that have been abandoned for many millennia. How ancient? Zektar's colors shifted to what Elena had learned indicated intense concern. Our preliminary dating suggests approximately 50,000 years. The pause that followed was telling. Zektar's form went completely still, his colors fading to a dim, worried blue. Director, Zektar said finally. The Council requires a full report on these discoveries. Immediately. Of course, Ambassador. We've been compiling our findings, and we'll have a comprehensive report ready within. No, Zektar interrupted, his colors flashing urgent red. Immediately. We are dispatching a Council survey team to your location. They will arrive within one standard galactic week. Elena felt her heart rate spike. Ambassador, with respect, this is human territory now. According to our charter, your charter grants you colonization rights. Zektar cut her off. It does not grant you exclusive archaeological rights to pre-council civilizations. The structures you have discovered fall under galactic heritage protection protocols. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving Elena staring at empty air. Dr. Rodriguez was already activating emergency communications. Get me Captain Chun on the Poseidon, Elena ordered. And patch in Director Harrison on Earth. We need to discuss this situation immediately. 20 minutes later, Elena found herself in a secure conference with the highest levels of human leadership. Captain Chin appeared via hologram from her ship, while Director Harrison of Earth's Department of Galactic Affairs joined from his office in Geneva. They're scared, Captain Chun said bluntly after hearing about Zektar's transmission. I've been monitoring Council communications, and there's been a lot of chatter about our activities here. They're specifically concerned about humans operating in deep ocean environments. Director Harrison leaned forward in his chair. What exactly have we found that has them so worried? Elena shared the highlights of their discoveries, the scale of architect civilization, their advanced technology, and, most importantly, the evidence that they had been monitoring and predicting galactic development. There's something else, Dr. Rodriguez added. We've discovered what appears to be a massive data repository in the deepest city. It's beyond anything we've found before, a complete record of architect civilization, including their reasons for leaving. Have you accessed it? Director Harrison asked. We've tried, but it requires specific authorization codes. The system seems to be waiting for someone with the right qualifications. Captain Chen's eyes narrowed. What kind of qualifications? Dr. Rodriguez shared his screen, showing the symbol that appeared whenever they attempted to access the repository. It was complex, three-dimensional, and somehow conveyed a sense of vast depth and pressure. It's a test of deep-sea capability, Elena realized suddenly. The authorization isn't a code, it's a demonstration. The system wants proof that the accessing species can survive in the deepest parts of the ocean. Director Harrison was quiet for a long moment. How deep are we talking? The repository is located at the bottom of a 25-kilometer deep trench. The pressure there is over 2,500 atmospheres. No known council species has technology capable of reaching that depth. But we do, Captain Chun said with a grim smile. Not just that, Elena added, studying the symbol more closely. I don't think this is just about technology. The test requires biological adaptation as well. The accessing individual has to survive at those depths not just in a vessel, but personally. The implications hung in the air. Humans were the only known species that had both the technology and the biological adaptability to potentially pass such a test. They had evolved on a world with crushing deep ocean pressures, and they had spent centuries developing technology to explore those depths. How long before the council survey team arrives? Director Harrison asked. 6 days, Elena replied. Then, we have 6 days to access that repository and learn what the architects really left behind, Captain Chin decided. Elena, I want you to prepare a deep descent team. Rodriguez, coordinate with our best submersible pilots. We're going deeper than any human has gone before. Sir, Elena said carefully, if we do this, there's no going back. We'll be directly defying council authority. Director Harrison's expression was grave. Elena, in the past 6 months, humanity has discovered evidence of a galaxy-spanning civilization that disappeared 50,000 years ago, leaving behind technology and knowledge that could revolutionize our understanding of space exploration and environmental harmony. This isn't just about archaeology anymore. This is about humanity's future in the galaxy. Elena nodded. I understand, sir. We'll make the attempt. The next 2 days were a frantic preparation period. Humanity's best deep-sea technology was brought to bear on the challenge of reaching the Architect repository. The submersible Deep Explorer was upgraded with experimental pressure-resistant systems and life support capable of sustaining a crew at impossible depths. More importantly, the crew had to be specially selected. The repository's access requirements seemed to demand not just survival at extreme depth, but some form of biological integration with the deep-sea environment. Elena volunteered for the mission herself, along with Dr. Rodriguez and Captain Sarah Chun, who had insisted on personally leading the expedition. Descent profile is optimized, announced Lieutenant Commander Nakamura from the Surface Control Station. You'll reach the target depth in approximately 4 hours. Pressure buildup will be gradual, giving your body's time to adapt. Elena settled into her seat aboard the Deep Explorer, trying to calm her nerves. Through the viewport, she could see other submersibles taking position around them, a full support fleet prepared for humanity's deepest dive ever. As they descended through the planet's pristine waters, Elena watched the depth counter climb. 5 kilometers, 10, 15. The pressure readings were staggering, well beyond what any human had survived before. But the submersible held, its experimental systems functioning perfectly. 20 kilometers, Dr. Rodriguez announced. Pressure is now at 2,000 atmospheres. We're officially deeper than any human exploration vessel has ever gone. Elena looked out at the absolute darkness beyond their lights. Only the hardiest bioluminescent creatures lived at these depths, their strange forms drifting past like alien spirits. It was a realm of impossible pressure and eternal night, and yet somehow, it felt like coming home. There, Captain Chun pointed through the viewport. The trench. The Mariana Trench on Earth was a shallow puddle compared to what opened before them. The trench walls dropped away into absolute blackness, a wound in the ocean floor that seemed to reach toward the planet's core. And, at its bottom, 25 kilometers down, the faint glow of Architect technology beckoned. Beginning final descent, Captain Chen announced. Depth, 22 kilometers, and descending. Elena felt the pressure in her bones now, despite the submersible's protection. Her specially designed diving suit was working overtime to maintain proper physiological pressure, but she could feel the ocean trying to claim her. It was terrifying and exhilarating at the same time. 24 kilometers, Dr. Rodriguez called out, his voice tight with concentration. There, I can see the structure. The architect repository emerged from the darkness like a cathedral made of light. It was vast, easily the size of a city block, and it pulsed with gentle bioluminescence. But what struck Elena most was how organic it looked. Not like a building, but like a living thing that had grown from the ocean floor itself. Docking port located, Captain Chun maneuvered the submersible toward what appeared to be an access point. Elena, are you ready? Elena checked her specialized diving equipment one final time. She would be leaving the submersible and swimming to the repository's entrance, a journey that would expose her directly to pressures that should crush a human body instantly. But the suit had been designed using architect principles found in their translated texts, working with pressure rather than against it. As ready as anyone can be for something impossible, she replied. The docking procedure was unlike anything they had attempted before. Elena swam from the submersible to the repository through water that pressed against her with the force of a collapsing star. But somehow, the suit held, and more than that, she found she could move almost naturally in the crushing environment. The repository's entrance recognized her approach and opened with fluid grace. Elena swam inside, finding herself in a chamber filled with breathable atmosphere maintained at exactly the pressure her human body needed to survive at this depth. The central chamber of the repository was breathtaking. Thousands of crystalline data storage devices floated in organized patterns, their surfaces covered with the flowing script of the architects. And at the center of it all was a control interface that seemed designed specifically for human proportions. Elena approached the interface, and symbols began appearing on its surface. Somehow, she could understand them, not the language itself, but the intent behind it. Inheritor species confirmed. Biological adaptation, adequate. Technological integration, adequate. Access granted. The repository came alive around her. Data streams flowed through the water, creating patterns of light that told the story of the architects. Elena saw their rise from a single water world to a galaxy-spanning civilization. She saw their mastery of aquatic technology, their development of true environmental harmony, their exploration of depths that other species couldn't even imagine. And she saw why they had left. The architects hadn't abandoned their worlds because of disaster or war. They had left because they had evolved beyond the need for physical form. After 200,000 years of perfect harmony with aquatic environments, they had transcended into something else, beings of pure consciousness that could exist in the quantum foam of the deep ocean itself. But they had known that evolution was a process, not an endpoint. Other species would arise, other civilizations would develop, and some of those species might have the potential to follow in their path. Humanity was that species. The water worlds weren't just colonies, they were testing grounds. The architects were still present, still watching, waiting to see if humans could develop the same harmony with aquatic environments that had led to transcendence. Elena felt a presence in the water around her, vast and ancient and benevolent. The architects hadn't truly left, they had simply changed form. And they were offering humanity the chance to follow the same path. Knowledge transferred. Guidance available. Choice remains. Elena understood. Humanity could continue as they were, using the ocean as a resource to be exploited. Or they could learn true harmony, developing their civilization in partnership with aquatic environments until they too achieved transcendence. As she swam back to the submersible, carrying data storage devices filled with architect knowledge, Elena realized that humanity's journey was just beginning. They had found their place in the galaxy not as conquerors or explorers, but as potential inheritors of the deepest wisdom the universe had to offer. The Council fleet would arrive in 3 days, but Elena was no longer worried about their arrival. Humanity had something far more valuable than territory or resources. They had been chosen by the architects themselves as worthy successors to the greatest civilization the galaxy had ever known. The water called to them, vast and deep and full of infinite possibility. And for the first time in human history, they were ready to answer that call completely. The Galactic Council fleet arrived at Kepler 438b exactly when Ambassador Zektar had promised, their crystalline ships gleaming in the light of the system star. Elena watched their approach from Platform Alpha's observation deck, noting how the alien vessels maintained a careful distance from the planet's surface, as if afraid to get too close to all that water. The fleet was impressive by galactic standards, 12 ships representing 6 different Council species, including the massive command vessel Concordance that served as the mobile headquarters for the Council's exploration division. Elena could see smaller ships peeling away from the main group, beginning what appeared to be a standard orbital survey pattern. "They're not coming down to the surface," observed Captain Chun, who had joined Elena at the observation deck. Maintaining high orbit, using long-range sensors only. Elena wasn't surprised. In the 3 days since accessing the Architect repository, she had gained a new understanding of just how alien the concept of deep water exploration was to most galactic species. The knowledge downloaded from the repository included detailed profiles of all current Council races, and their limitations in aquatic environments were more severe than humanity had realized. Director Vasquez, came the voice of Communications Officer Yang. "We're receiving a transmission from the Council fleet. Ambassador Zektar is requesting permission to conduct an inspection of our archaeological sites." Elena exchanged glances with Captain Chun. This was the moment they had been preparing for. "Patch him through to Conference Room Alpha." Full diplomatic protocols. Minutes later, Elena found herself facing a holographic assembly of Council representatives, with Ambassador Zektar serving as the primary speaker. The Velnari diplomat's crystalline form was flickering with rapid color changes, a sign of extreme agitation that Elena had learned to recognize during her months on the water world. "Director Vasquez," Zektar began, "the Council requires immediate access to the archaeological sites you have discovered. Our preliminary scans indicate structures of unprecedented size and technological sophistication." "Ambassador," Elena replied carefully, "we are happy to share our findings with the Council. We've prepared a comprehensive report detailing our discoveries." "Reports are insufficient," interrupted Ambassador Cretan, the Zephyrian representative whose silicon-based form appeared even more agitated than Zektar's. "Direct examination of the sites is required to verify the nature of these structures and ensure proper preservation protocols are followed." Elena had anticipated this demand. "Of course, Ambassador. However, I should point out that accessing these sites requires specialized equipment and training. The structures are located at depths that present significant challenges. Challenges that the Council is prepared to overcome," Zektar stated firmly. "We have brought deep exploration vessels from across Council space." Elena activated a holographic display showing the locations and depths of the major Architect sites. She watched as the alien ambassadors studied the data, their various forms of expression gradually shifting from confidence to concern to outright alarm. 15 kilometers, whispered Ambassador Veloke of the amphibious Krogan. "That is impossible. Our deepest capable vessels can reach perhaps 2 kilometers before hull compression becomes critical." "The pressure readings are wrong," insisted Ambassador Cretan. "No artificial structure could survive at such depths, let alone remain operational." Elena suppressed a smile. "I assure you, Ambassador, our readings are accurate. The Architect sites are indeed located at extreme depths, and many of them remain fully operational after 50,000 years. Architects." Zektar's form went completely still, his colors fading to a dim, frightened blue. Elena realized she had revealed more than intended. "That's the name we've given to the species that built these cities. Based on our analysis, they were an advanced aquatic civilization that, you accessed the cities," Ambassador Veloke interrupted, his amphibious features showing clear terror. "You went inside structures at 15-kilometer depths." "Yes," Elena replied simply. "Human technology and physiology allows us to operate at those depths with appropriate preparation." The silence that followed was profound. Elena could see the alien ambassadors struggling to process this information. To them, what humanity had accomplished was not just difficult, it was literally impossible. "How many sites have you accessed?" Zektar asked quietly. Elena made a decision. 47 cities, 12 industrial complexes, and over 300 smaller installations. We've also successfully retrieved data archives from the deepest repository at 25 kilometers depth. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. Ambassador Cretan's silicon form began rapid thermal fluctuations, the equivalent of hyperventilation. Ambassador Veloque retreated so far into his shell that only his eyes remained visible. Even the normally composed Zektar was cycling through colors so rapidly that his form appeared to strobe. 25 kilometers, Zektar repeated, as if the words themselves were impossible. No council species has ever survived at such depths. The pressure alone would crush our strongest vessels instantly. Yet you were willing to assign this world to humanity, Elena pointed out. Didn't you realize we would explore it thoroughly? The pause that followed was telling. Elena could see the ambassadors exchanging glances, or whatever passed for glances among their various species. We believed, Zektar said finally, that any exploration would be limited to surface activities and shallow coastal areas. We assumed the deep oceans would remain untouched. Elena felt the pieces clicking together. You knew there were architect ruins here. That's why you gave us this world so readily. You were afraid to explore it yourselves. The Council has policies regarding pre-sapient archaeological sites, Ambassador Cretan said defensively. Preservation protocols require what? Elena interrupted. Require that they remain unexplored because you're too afraid to visit them? The deep oceans are death realms, Ambassador Veloque said bluntly, emerging slightly from his shell. No sapient species can survive in such environments. They are the domain of other things. Elena leaned forward. What other things? Ancient powers, Zektar replied reluctantly. The Council archives contain references to civilizations that disappeared into the deep waters of various worlds. Species that descended so far into the ocean depths that they lost contact with the galaxy entirely. You're talking about the architects, Elena realized. You know about them. We know that several advanced species have vanished into water worlds over the galaxy's history, Zektar confirmed. We know that their ruins can be found in the deepest parts of various oceans. And we know that no current Council species has the capability to explore those ruins safely. Elena activated another display, this one showing footage from their exploration of the first architect city. She watched as the alien ambassadors reacted with awe and terror to images of humans swimming through corridors filled with water, operating equipment at pressures that would instantly kill any Council species. The architects didn't disappear, Elena announced. They evolved. They achieved such perfect harmony with aquatic environments that they transcended physical form entirely. They still exist, but as consciousness integrated with the quantum structure of deep ocean environments. The alien ambassadors reacted as if Elena had announced the existence of gods. Impossible, whispered Ambassador Cretan. Terrifying, added Ambassador Veloque. Probable, said Zektar quietly, his colors shifting to patterns Elena had never seen before. The Council has always suspected that something dwelt in the deep waters of water worlds. It explains why these planets have always been avoided. Elena made another decision, one that would change humanity's relationship with the Galactic Council forever. The architects left instructions, she announced. Complete technological specifications for achieving true harmony with aquatic environments. They left their knowledge for whoever could reach it, whoever could prove themselves worthy of inheriting their legacy. She activated a new display showing some of the simpler technologies they had recovered from the repository. Organic machinery that worked with ocean currents instead of against them. Energy generation systems that drew power from thermal layers and pressure differentials. Construction techniques that enhanced marine ecosystems instead of disrupting them. This is impossible, Ambassador Cretan repeated, but his voice lacked conviction. This is why water worlds are empty, Elena continued. Every time a species achieves this level of environmental harmony, they eventually evolve beyond the need for physical form. The architects weren't the first, and they won't be the last. And you believe humans can achieve this? Zektar asked. The architects believed it, Elena replied. They specifically prepared their knowledge for a species with our capabilities. They've been waiting 50,000 years for someone who could reach their deepest repositories. Elena activated one final display, this one showing a star map that had been hidden in the deepest archives of the repository. It marked hundreds of water worlds throughout the galaxy, each one containing architect ruins at various depths. There are testing sites throughout Council space, Elena announced. Every major water world has architect installations. The deeper the site, the more advanced the knowledge it contains. The architects created a galaxy-spanning curriculum for species capable of following their path. How many of these sites can Council species reach? Captain Chen asked, though they all knew the answer. None, admitted Ambassador Veloque. Even the shallowest sites shown on this map are beyond our capabilities. Elena could see the implications dawning on the alien ambassadors. Humanity hadn't just discovered archaeological sites. They had gained exclusive access to the most advanced knowledge in the galaxy. Technology that could revolutionize space travel, energy generation, and environmental management. Knowledge that no other Council species could reach. What do you intend to do with this information? Zektar asked carefully. Elena looked at Captain Chun, who nodded slightly. They had discussed this moment extensively. The architect's knowledge belongs in the deep places, Elena said. It can only be accessed by those willing to make the journey, to prove themselves capable of true environmental harmony. Humanity is prepared to serve as intermediaries, to explore these sites, and share appropriate knowledge with Council species. Appropriate knowledge? Ambassador Cretan's thermal fluctuations increased. Knowledge that can be safely integrated without causing environmental harm, Elena clarified. The architects were very specific about this. Their advanced technologies require a level of environmental consciousness that must be earned, not simply granted. Elena could see the alien ambassadors struggling with the implications. Humanity had just claimed guardianship over the most advanced technology in the galaxy, and they were doing it with the backing of an ancient civilization that no other species could reach. The Council cannot accept human claims of exclusive access to pre-sapient archaeological sites, Zektar said finally. Then, the Council is welcome to explore these sites themselves, Elena replied calmly. All we ask is that you bring submersibles capable of reaching 25-kilometer depths and crews trained for extreme pressure survival. The silence that followed was deafening. Alternatively, Elena continued, humanity is prepared to establish a joint research program. We will continue exploring architect sites throughout the galaxy, documenting their knowledge and sharing discoveries that benefit all Council species. In exchange, we ask for formal recognition of human administrative authority over water world archaeological sites. Ambassador Zektar's colors stabilized into a pattern that Elena had learned indicated deep thought. You are proposing that humanity become the Council's official deep ocean exploration service. We're proposing to do what we do naturally, Captain Chen interjected. Humans have been exploring the deepest parts of the ocean for centuries. We're simply applying those skills on a galactic scale. Elena activated a final display showing preliminary designs for new technologies based on architect principles. Spacecraft that could carry ocean environments with them, allowing extended deep space exploration. Energy systems that worked in harmony with planetary ecosystems instead of depleting them. Agricultural techniques that enhanced rather than depleted soil and water systems. The architect's knowledge could solve many of the environmental challenges facing Council worlds, Elena pointed out. Overpopulation, resource depletion, ecosystem collapse. They found solutions to all of these problems. And you would share these solutions? Ambassador Veloque asked hopefully. We would share them with species that demonstrated the environmental consciousness necessary to use them responsibly, Elena confirmed. The architects were very clear that their knowledge should only be given to those who had proven they could achieve true harmony with their environments. Elena could see the wheels turning in the alien ambassadors' minds. Humanity was offering to solve the Council's greatest challenges, but only on terms that required fundamental changes in how other species approached environmental management. The Council will need time to consider this proposal, Zektar said finally. Of course, Elena replied. In the meantime, human exploration of architect sites will continue. We have identified over 300 priority locations across Council space, ranging from shallow coastal ruins to deep trench repositories. As the alien ambassadors signed off, Elena felt a profound sense of satisfaction. Humanity had just negotiated their way from junior members of the Galactic Council to essential partners in unlocking the galaxy's greatest mysteries. Think they'll accept our terms? Captain Chen asked. Elena looked out at the blue waters of Kepler 438b, where human research teams were preparing for another day of impossible deep-sea exploration. Below the surface, the architects' cities hummed with ancient wisdom, their systems still maintaining perfect environmental balance after 50,000 years. "They don't have a choice," Elena replied. "We're the only species in the galaxy capable of accessing this knowledge. They can either work with us or watch from orbit while we explore wonders they can't even imagine." Captain Chin smiled grimly. From unwanted water worlds to guardians of galactic knowledge. Not a bad promotion. Elena nodded, but her thoughts were already turning to the deeper implications of their discoveries. The architects had evolved beyond physical form, achieving a kind of immortality through perfect harmony with their environment. They had left their knowledge as a gift for whatever species might follow their path. And now humanity stood at the threshold of that same evolutionary journey. They had the knowledge, they had the capability, and they had the vast oceans of hundreds of worlds to explore. The question wasn't whether they would follow the architect's path, it was how long it would take. As Elena watched human submersibles disappearing into the planet's blue depths, she realized that this was just the beginning. Humanity had found their true calling among the stars, not as conquerors or explorers, but as inheritors of the deepest wisdom the universe had to offer. The water worlds called to them, vast and mysterious and full of infinite possibility. And humanity was finally ready to answer that call completely, diving deeper than any species had ever dared to go, toward a destiny that waited in the deepest places of the galaxy. The Galactic Council had feared water worlds for good reason. They were places of transformation, where species either learned true environmental harmony or perished in the attempt. And humanity, having evolved on a world that was mostly water, had been preparing for this test their entire evolutionary history. They were ready to dive deeper than anyone had ever imagined, following the path of the architects towards something greater than physical existence itself. The ocean called, and humanity was finally ready to answer.